Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. Today is Wednesday, November the 17th, 2021. I am Joe Sarvadi, affectionately known as Coach, and I am here to discuss a very exciting 11-game NBA DFS slate. Tonight, we've got all the main sites at 7 p.m. Eastern lock, so we'll be providing our clipboard for Draftkings, full lineups for Fanduel and Yahoo, and get to really sweat out that last hour before lock and get all of our plays set. It should be a fantastic slate, a lot of competitive games, some interesting teams on first nights of back-to-backs, one team on the second night. So a lot of moving parts. Definitely not the NBA DFS is not for the weak of heart. You've got to be ready to dig in, follow the news throughout the day, adjust lineups as the night goes on, including lock, and then for the late games. I mean, with all of the injuries and then all the protocols for COVID, it's become crazy as far as all the movement going on. But I love it. I think it's an advantage. A couple of nights ago, we had a similar situation to this 11-game slate, lots of questionable players, and it really does play out to our favor. So we would love to have you join us, dfscoachtalk.com. Just jump in with us. We'll follow everything in Discord, do all that hard work for you, and get you ready for just absolutely crushing it in NBA. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, quick thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, give us a quick comment. Love the podcast. If you have a question, whatever it is, we'd love feedback. That really helps us with the algorithm moving up the slate at YouTube. So we're looking forward to that, and we appreciate that. All right, we're not going to drag our feet here. We got to get into this, and we're going to just fire through these 11 games. We're going to give you all the information from a statistical analysis, from us watching these games and checking them out, taking notes, looking at player body language, coach tendencies, all the things that go into giving you just that slight edge over anybody else, on the DFS slate. And it's competitive out there in the NBA, so you need every advantage you can get. And we are going to give you those. So let's hit this. 11 games, no messing around. We are going at it. First game of the night, Indiana Pacers, Detroit Pistons, 7 o'clock game. Indiana -6.5. It's a 211 total. 108.75 implied for Indiana, 102.25 for Detroit. The game set on this one, we've got Indiana 6-9, Detroit 3-11. Injuries, Duarte questionable, which is an important piece, and then Jackson and Warren remain out. For Detroit, the infamous Mr. Livers here is probable. And Kelly Olynyk, we know, will be out for a while. As far as the statistical breakdown here, we've got both teams on an island game, so no worries about that piece of it. Pace of play, average, Indiana 17, Detroit 11. Offensive efficiency, not too great on either side here. 17th Indiana, 28th Detroit. Defense isn't great either. Neither one of these teams have really gotten it done this season. Defensively, they're 16th for Indiana, 24th for Detroit. So certainly not a great game to start off the slate here. Pretty low total, a couple of inefficient teams, but they are on an island game. So let's look at a couple of prices here for Indiana. Brogdon at 8.4. If he's going to play full minutes, is worth consideration. Detroit's backcourt is not defended well at all. We have to figure out if Duarte is going to play or not, because that shuffles a bit for guys like Justin Holiday, somebody to keep an eye on. Karis LeVert at 6'9" is fair if he gets a full allotment of minutes. The last 2 games, he was on a bit of a minutes restriction. So if we see that cap is lifted and he's going to go full tilt here, and this game can stay close enough, I think LeVert could be a great play at sub-7 pricing. Sabonis at 9.2 hasn't exactly blown the top off the arena lately. 9.2 is a lot. The question is he going to get enough minutes usage in a game that we have to see if it's going to stay close or not. So not my favorite pay up. And then after that, Turner at 6'8", his price has gone up. He's had some where he's been effective. After that, just a lot of guys coming off the bench, the TJ McConnells and such that on an 11-game slate are pretty much unplayable. And Stewart, 6'3", 7'1", and 5'2". I guess if you really want to dig and you think Detroit's going to stay in this game, but no interest for me. This game probably may have a one-off with either LeVert or Brogdon on the Indiana side, but nothing from the Detroit side for me. All right, we go to game 2. Also a 7 o'clock game. It is the Washington Wizards at the Charlotte Hornets. The Hornets are favored by 2.5. It's a 215 over-under. Implied total for Washington, 106.25. For Charlotte, 108.75. So record-wise, Washington an incredible 10-3, and they're doing it without some key guys, Hachimura, Bryant, Bertans. I mean, they're just winning, and hats off to those guys, man. They are getting it done. Wes Unseld Jr., I believe, is the coach there. Fantastic job. Charlotte is 8-7. As far as the injuries, I already said Bertans, Bryant, and Hachimura remain out. Gordon Hayward is listed but probable, and PJ Washington is out. So that does affect their rotation a bit. As far as the statistical breakdown here, we do have Washington on the first night of a back-to-back, so that could affect some of the veterans, like maybe a Dinwiddie, who's coming back from a full season off from an injury. That's a bit of a concern. Beal, who's expected to play but has been out a few games. Don't know if he'll get completely extended here. So this is a tough game to figure as far as pure minutes on a first night of a back-to-back for the Wizards. Pace of play, Washington 21, Charlotte 2. So huge pace-up game for Washington. That is a plus for the Dinwiddies, Bills, Kuzmas, those guys, Harrell. As far as offensive efficiency, right in the middle of the pack, these two teams are 14 and 13. Defensively, Washington 6th in the league. They were 27th last year. So kudos to them, man. The full new team, and they are defending. And if you don't think defense win games, then, take a look at this 10-3 record with this lineup, and it'll tell you that defense still matters in the NBA. Charlotte is 26th, however. That was not expected. They were supposed to be a bit tighter on D. They have missed Brozier a bunch of the year, and he is their best perimeter defender. And Miles Bridges has been great defensively, leading the guy, generally it's going to get those monster 36 to 38 minutes. He's coming off the bench still for Gafford. And, I do think that you can consider Kuzma or Harrell in this spot. A lot of guys getting minutes off the bench. Neto, Avdia, Holiday, Kispert, just no interest there. On the Charlotte side, LaMelo Ball. How about 10-7 for LaMelo Ball? I mean, that is amazing. Big price. Great spot here, but it is a pace down against a better defensive team. I can't pay 10-7 for LaMelo as much as I think he's a stud. Rozier at 6'3" is definitely a much better, much value play, better value, but is he going to get the big minutes? He hasn't quite found his groove after coming back from injury, so risky. Nice GPP play, though. Hayward at 7'3", Miles Bridges at 8'1", both deserve interest in my book. I think they're both playable commodities in this matchup, so going to consider them. After that, Oubre off the bench at 4'6", huge. I mean, if there's ever been the letters GPP that stand for a guy, it's Oubre. I mean, he can get, 30 real points or 2 real points. So GPP only at that 4.6 price. Okay, next game, we're shifting already to 7:30. So we got a nice spread of times, no lapses like yesterday when we had to wait for 2 hours for the next game. We've got the Boston Celtics at the Atlanta Hawks. Atlanta's favored by 4.5. The total is 214. Implied for Boston, 104.75. And for Atlanta, 109.25. Boston's record is 7-7. Atlanta 6-9. Injuries for the Celtics. Williams is a very important one. He's questionable, so we need that news. Thomas questionable, Brown out. And then as far as Atlanta, Bogdanovich and Herter both questionable. So that changes the rotation majorly. And Hunter's already ruled out and Okongwu's out. So we've got those injuries going to make a huge difference in this game. And once we get that news, we could get some serious value here. But we've got to get the news first, because it makes people unplayable as compared to great value plays. All right, statistically, let's take a look at this. We've got Boston 25th in pace, Atlanta 13th. So not fantastic from the DFS possession standpoint. Boston's 21st on offensive efficiency, Atlanta 6th. So Atlanta's scoring the ball. Their problem is defensively. They're rated 28th. That's why they've been getting smoked. So that helps the Boston cause. Boston is 10th in defensive efficiency. So that is an interesting one. Got to keep the coffee going, like in the veins going here this morning. All right, let's look at these rotations now that we have the statistical breakdown. Schroeder's been really dominating some play during key times, taking big shots. He's only 6'5". He gets Trae Young defense. He's in play for me today. Smart's still cheap at 5'3". I think he'll be, busy guarding Young most of the time, but he can sneak in at that good value price. He was a lot more expensive most of the season last year. Tatum at 10-2, what can we say? I mean, he might be one of the better pay-up options here. Still, all the usage is going to go through him. He's going to handle the ball. He's going to be a difference maker. They'll try a few different defenders on him, but I think it's a good matchup for him. He's in serious consideration for me. After that, we need to know if Robert Williams is going to play or not. If Williams doesn't play, it does make Horford reasonable at that mid-level 7.5. I think that's worth a consideration. After that, no interest in the bench at Boston. On the Atlanta side, again, once we get that news, because if Herter's out, that definitely elevates Bogdanovich and also elevates Cam Reddish. So those two guys, very possibly could be in play at super cheap prices, $5K and 3.4. The other guy that would be a great play is Danilo Gallinari at 3.5. So if those other two guys are out, I think you can really consider him. Not probably going to go the Trae Young route because of the smart defense. Collins, Capella, possibility if Williams doesn't play and they're a little small inside, Boston is, if they're trying to play Grant Williams and these short guys at center, I mean, you could get a dominant game from either one of them, Collins and Capella, but it seems to come down to picking one of these guys every day. And they're almost the identical price at 7.3 and 7.2. But I think once we get that news, they can be in consideration. So this game is in play for me. It could be a Tatum, versus some of that value from Atlanta or one of the bigs. All right, we go to the other 7:30 game. There's actually how many 7:35? 5 7:30 games. Unbelievable. Okay, the second one is Orlando Magic at the New York Knicks. Knicks a big 11.5-point favorite, so definitely potential blowout type of situation here. We got two teams on an island game, so that's a good thing. The total's only 209, which is not good when you're talking about 11.5-point spread. You would think it would be just a bit higher, but that's where we're at. So implied Orlando a low 98.75. When you get below 100, that's not good. Knicks 110.25, which is actually pretty decent for the Knicks. As far as the game set here, we've got 3-11 Orlando against the 8-6 Knicks. So Knicks starting to get their lineup together and their record together. Lots of injuries for Orlando, just like all year. Suggs is the one that we need to know about. He's questionable. That makes a difference. MCW, Fultz, Isaac, Moore, all still out. For the Knicks, we know Nerlens Noel is out. So as far as statistically, Orlando's 10th in pace, Knicks 22nd, as expected. A lot of slow down ball, getting the ball to Julius. Offensive efficiency, as I say every day, the young baby teams are all at the bottom. Orlando's 27th. They haven't figured out exactly how to do it yet. Knicks are a pretty tidy 10th, and you've seen that change some things in their output this year. The reason this game has interest to me, even though it's a big spread and only a 209 total, is the defensive ranking here is not good. Orlando's 27th. And the Knicks, we know, have played surprisingly, not great defense. They're all the way down to 18th. So where do we look at here? We certainly don't want too much exposure. If you listen to the show every day, Cole Anthony is one of my favorites. He's been phenomenal all year, continues to throw up 50 burgers. And I like to attack the Knicks backcourt defense. It's not good, especially if Suggs sits. I'm not afraid to pay up to the 7.9 for Cole Anthony. I still think he's 50 burger potential. This game, even if it doesn't stay completely tight, he will get some run, even if it's a 15 or 20-point game. So Cole hugely in play for me here. I think you get a decent price on Wendell Carter at 6.7. Mo Bamba seems to be backing up a little bit, so I'm not going to recommend him at 6.7. The only concern about Orlando right now is they are starting to use their bench more. They're always used the Human Torch Ross off the bench, but Okeke and Hampton and Gary Harris are now in the mix. So that's why it's important for me. If Suggs sits, that just improves Cole Anthony's minutes as that backcourt shuffles, and it improves his usage as well. On the Knicks side, you've got the cheap guards. They always try to tease you into 5-1 Kemba, 4-5 Fournier, 4-6 Rose, 4K Burks, 3-7 quickly. You know what? I don't want any of those guys. They're so frustrating because they rotate them all. None of them seem to get to, pick one will get to value each game, and the rest will just not get there. So I think it's best to just avoid it all total. And then as the bigs go, Barrett's played bad. Not interested there. Mitch Rob's going to split with Gibson. So really, and it's been like this for a couple of weeks now. To me, if you want to roster a Nick, you roster Julius Randle, and then you're done with it. That's the play at 9-9 if you want to go there. If this game stays close, you know that Tibbs likes to play his guys longer minutes. He has gotten just a smidgen better about that, but that's just because he doesn't know who to play at guard. So I think Randall's a terrific play. I really do. I think he's one of the more solid plays on the card, and he is sub 10, barely, but he is. So wouldn't mind, truthfully, laying out the cash here and having a little Cole Anthony, Julius Randle battle, but need to see how everything comes together, because on an 11-game slate, there's a lot of value already, and we know that tons more value is going to open up. So you really can put together I don't even call it a stars and scrubs type of lineup anymore. I call it a stars and value. That's what we're going for right now. That's the trend. That's what's winning tournaments. That's what's crushing in cash is you find your stars, the ones that are going to perform and get it done. And then you find great value. There's so many players that are getting 30 minutes plus that are cheap just because of all of the things we mentioned. So it's just scouting them out. And on big slates like this, they're all over the place. So I absolutely love it. All right, another 7:30 game. Cleveland Cavaliers, Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn favored by 10 and a half, but they're on the second night of a back-to-back. And we know that game was super disappointing for them last night as Steph and company torched the Nets. But is it going to affect that rotation? We'll see. Is Nash going to still play Harden and Durant a million minutes? Neither one of them had a good game yesterday, so we'll see. I think they could. Cleveland's on the first night of a back-to-back, and they are banged up. So I don't know what's going to happen in this game. It's going to be more of an avoid game for me. That 10.5 Brooklyn number with them being pissed off. They're at home. They get a Cleveland team that's injured coming in. They could just smack them. It is double digits, and the total in Vegas only 207. The implied 98.25 for Cleveland and 108.75 for Brooklyn is decent. But this game is my red alert game that I'm going to try to steer clear from as much as possible. Cleveland comes in at an impressive 9-6, but again, they're hurt. And Brooklyn is 10-5, even with that tough loss yesterday. Kevin Love is probable, so all he does is muddy the waters there a bit. But listen to this group that's out. Basically, they're starting 4 of their 5. They're missing Allen, Markkanen, Mobley, Sexton. Those are 4 starters. It's those 4 and Garland that started most of the year. And then Stevens, a good guy off the bench. So they are just obliterated. It could mean huge usage for the other guys we'll talk about, but we'll see. For Brooklyn, Claxton and Millsap are both questionable. So if those 2 guys play, along with Blake Griffin, LaMarcus Aldridge, all those bigs that are splitting minutes, no thank you at all. Joe Harris and Mr. Irving still remain out. So let's look at the statistical breakdown before we talk about these teams, because there may be a one-off here that's good. But remember, first night of back-to-back Cleveland, second night for Brooklyn, big spread, dangerous. And here's the problem, too. Cleveland 24th in pace. Would you believe Brooklyn's 27th? I never expected Brooklyn to play that slow, but it really is Harden. He does pound the ball into the ground a lot. And trying to ISO Durant. I mean, they don't play fast. Offensive efficiency, 22nd for Cleveland. Somehow they're winning just because they play great D. But, I think with these injuries, you're going to see Cleveland possibly lose a half dozen games in a row. That's what I see coming. And then Brooklyn 12th, which with those veterans, those scores, they should be better than that. And then both teams play good D. That's the big issue here. 9th for Cleveland, 4th for Brooklyn, although Golden State, sliced and diced them last night. Interesting, though, Ricky Rubio and Darius Garland both have to be considered in play because there's so much usage. But this is such a scary game. Rubio's second half yesterday, 2 days ago, was amazing. I couldn't believe he went, I think he had 26 real points in the second half. And this is a guy that just, he hasn't done that in 10 years. So, at 6'5", you still have to consider him. It's just crazy, but you got to. And then you've got Darius Garland at 6'5" also. So both guards, I think, are reasonable. I think they're worth considering. There's going to be massive amount of usage and shots. I'm just concerned this game blows out. They're so shorthanded. The starting front court right now for Cleveland looks like it might be Okoro, Wade, and Love. Yikes. And then Jetty and Windler off the bench. Valentine's going to get minutes. You're going to see some Taco Fall, too. He played in the first quarter of the last game. He's certainly going to get minutes. On an extreme, flyer. If you want to play Taco Fall at the Deadman 3K, I don't think it's the worst play in the world. I really don't. He's going to get decent minutes, but you just don't know if he's going to perform. Good GPP play, though, for sure. Again, this game can be make or break it kind of game. I just, being more of a cash and single entry player, I just don't want to have it broken in this game. On the net side, I expect they'll go the same starting lineup as last night with Mills, Harden, Brown, Durant, Griffin. Brown sort of broke the slate last night. He's only 4K. I have no courage to go back to him. I think that's a trap. I'm not going to do that. Wouldn't recommend it personally. I think, I'm not wanting to pay up the 11-3 or the 11-5 for Harden or Durant. Again, if they leave him in, either one of them could go for 70 fantasy points, but I'm not going to risk it in a game like this. So not really into the Brooklyn side on the second night of a back-to-back. They do actually have a pretty deep bench. They can go down to Bembry, Aldridge, Carter, Johnson, so they have some guys to come in. And so I'm going to be moving on down the road. All right, we got two more 7:30 games. LA Lakers at the Milwaukee Bucks. This was supposed to be this awesome game. We'll see, with the Lakers playing like doo-doo, we'll see how it goes in Milwaukee. But Milwaukee's favored by 7.5. The total's 213.5. Lakers 103, Bucks 110.5, which is a pretty darn good number. We've got, let's see, where are they? All these games mixed around. Lakers are 8-7, so it's not like, a dead duck like everybody thinks right now. Milwaukee's 6-8. How about that? But again, they've had a million injuries too. Big news here is we have probable tags on Anthony Davis, which we expected, but on Chris Middleton on the other side. So that really creates interest. Out for the Lakers are Ariza, James, Nunn, and Reeves. It looks like LeBron's coming back Friday. And then also probable is Hill, who missed the last game. DiVincenzo and Lopez remain out. Statistically speaking, the Lakers, 3rd in pace. Milwaukee, 8th in pace. Very interesting. That's going to get some attention immediately. Offensive efficiency for these two teams that have all these veteran players is bad. Lakers 24th, Milwaukee 18th. So that's part of these bad records. They're not getting good shots. They're not shooting good percentages. Those will improve as these teams get healthy. There's no doubt. And defensively, nothing to write home about. Lakers down to 13th, and they were up at the top 1 or 2, 3, most of last season. So not good there. And Milwaukee 20th. So that's very surprising for the Bucks team with the interior defense of Giannis. I think they really miss Lopez and DiVincenzo, to be honest. Those are two good cornerstone defenders. All right, so let's look at this game a bit. You got some big price guys in Westbrook at 11, getting Drew Holiday defense. No, thank you. Anthony Davis 10-9. Getting some Giannis defense, not really going to go there either. I think Talen Horton-Tucker, who was Deadman 3, that was a nice little guy to pop in there. They've moved him up to 4.8, so that isn't automatic, but he's still a good play at that price. I think he's decent play, but he will get Middleton defense. We don't know how many minutes Middleton's going to get. I would assume they're going to ease him back. I don't think he'll get a full minutes. Tucker at the cheaper price, still in play. He gets a lot of touches and usage when he's in there. Nothing for me off the Lakers bench. Again, you're going to get a bit of Middleton, not enough to own him at the 8K number, but he is going to take away from, what I felt were great plays, in Drew Holiday at 7.3 and Portis at 6.9. Those were easy calls, when Middleton was out. But now, with those guys playing and, of course, Giannis makes it tough. Giannis is a crazy 12.5, which maybe he's worth that. I can't do it, though. I'm trying to build, even if he throws a 65 on the board, you're having to get that. And I still think AD plays great interior defense. I know bigs have been stinging the Lakers lately. I just can't go to 12-5 with this many great players in there. And he could be the highest scorer on the slate. I get that. But, is it going to work out if you have him and one other pay-up guy? Do you have to go to the bottom of the barrel on the last few guys? So, remember, just, everybody thinks Giannis, I have to have 65. But if the salary makes you play a guy that has 10, then how much further ahead are you? So it's a tough one. Portis, possibly still 6'9" is a little higher than I'd like. And Holiday at 7'3" is as well. So I know this is a good game. The 110.5 implied is solid. I just am having trouble getting to a lot of guys in this game just because the pricing, I think the game's going to be over-owned. You've got a Lakers team that's playing poorly. Could it blow out again? Of course it could. I mean, they got blown out the last game, and Milwaukee is a 7.5-point favorite. So probably my contrarian spot today is that I'm not going to focus on this game and may possibly have a complete pass on it. And like I say, I think you'll get a lot of ownership there. There are a few spots you can go, though, but for me, it's not going to be a key whatsoever. I'm going to be rooting for a low-scoring blowout. That's the way it's going to go for me in that game. All right, the last 7:30 game, finally, all these 7:30 games, you've got Miami minus 8.5 against the New Orleans Pelicans, another blowout potential game, but a big fat 220 over-under, which is a nice one, 105.75 implied for the Pelicans, 114.25 implied for the Miami Heat. Miami's on the first night of a back-to-back, and Spoelstra doesn't like to blow his guys out. So this, you have to be a little concerned on the Heat side with some of that. But they do want to win this game, that's for sure. We've got Pelicans coming in at 2-13. The Heat are 9-5. Zion, we know, is out. Bam Adebayo, questionable. Jimmy Butler, questionable. Dedmon, questionable. Garrett, questionable. Morris and Oladipo out. So, why even talk about this game? If we don't know that Bam, Butler, and Dedmon are going to play, we have to get all of that news. I mean, it would change everything. The Uristev or whatever, the young big man for Miami, if all those guys are out, all of a sudden he's the best value play on the slate. Guys like Lowry, Duncan Robinson, Hero probably be highest owned on the slate if all those guys are out. So we need all of that information. The Pels stink. So, this is going to be an important game to really watch the news on. I mean, it's all news dependent completely on that game. So I'm not going to waste a ton of time talking about it. I will give you the numbers. Pace 15th and 20th for Pels and Heat. So not anything to jump out of your seat. The young Pels 25th in offensive efficiency, Miami 5th. And then in pace of play, this is a deterrent. Pelicans, in defense, this makes it, you want to take some Miami guys. Pelicans are dead last, 30th. Miami, and of course, in the top 10, they're 8th. So again, we need the news. Not only do we need to know if those guys are in or out, we need to know if there's a minutes restriction being the first night of a back-to-back. I mean, I'm going to have everything open for the Heat tonight or this afternoon. News, from any source I can get from Miami, all the beat writers, any of the streams. I'm going to be watching all kinds of Heat stuff because I really do feel this could be the key to the slate. If we get the news, we know what's going on. You can plug like 2 of these Heat guys in at least, depending on the situation, and they could really bring you home. So stay tuned. Join us, dfscoachtalk.com, so you can jump into our Discord. We'll follow all this news for you throughout the day. You can get in for 3 days for $10. And it's a great day to get in because you get Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You get the Thursday night football game, 3 great days of NBA. You get all of our golf picks for the tournament tonight, for the PGA, for the whole tournament. And then Friday, we put out weekend only. So for $10, you get all that. If you want to go through the weekend and get all of the Sunday football, you can get 5 days for $19. So it's no brainer. dfscoachtalk.com. All right, let's go to the next game, 8 o'clock game. Houston Rockets, Oklahoma City Thunder. Oklahoma City favored by 3. How about that? These are two teams that you can't be super proud of rooting for right now. 104.25 implied for Houston, 107.75 for your Oklahoma City Thunder. Their records coming into this big affair here, 1-13 for Houston. Ouch. Not bad, 5-8 for Oklahoma City, considering what they have to work with there. As far as injuries, big news is Kevin Porter Jr. questionable. And that does change a lot of things for that rotation with Houston. Thunder still no injuries, which is expected with younger teams that generally can take a lot more than the older guys, as us older guys know. As far as statistically, Houston has the fastest paced team. So even though they're not winning, they're pushing the ball, which really makes the teams that are playing that are playing Houston, it makes them really in play immediately. Because when you look at Houston at the fastest pace and the 23rd defense, it's like you almost have to take some guy, at least one or two guys from the other side. Oklahoma City 9th in pace, so this game's going to have a lot of movement to it. It should be pretty close, and the total's really decent. So this, as bad as these two teams are, this might be a key DFS NBA game tonight. Efficiency, Houston 30th, Oklahoma City 29th. Again, young teams don't know how to play. Defensive efficiency, as I mentioned, Houston 23rd, the Thunder 13th. So, this game has some appeal to it. There's no question. If Porter's out, that elevates Green. We'll get a lot of guys off the bench for them. That's the only problem. I mean, you can look at Wood at down to 7-7. That's the cheapest his price has been. I think he's going to get a ton of ownership and could be a really solid play at that mid-level price now. If Porter is in, he's playable at 5'8". Jayshawn Tate, a little risky at 5'1", and Tice, I don't trust him at 4'1". They do bring Şengün in to get decent minutes at 4K, but you're going to get a lot of guys. Nawaba House Jr., Martin, Augustine, Gordon off that bench, maybe even Amani Brooks a little bit. So, not ecstatic, but definitely wouldn't mind having either Christian Wood or Jalen Green or Porter if Porter doesn't play Green for sure. On the other side, I really think you got a couple of options here. You've got Shea at 8-7 in a pace-up game like this against a poor defense at home. He's probably a strong play today, and 8-7 is fair for him. He does throw some clunkers in there, but I think this fits him today a lot. After that, everybody wants to go Josh Giddey all the time. I'm not sure there if that's, at 6'2" wise anymore. He's sort of fallen back a bit. And then they're just playing. I mean, Dort Baisley, JRE, Favors, Poku, Williams, Muscala, Trey Mann, Ty Jerome got in the other day. Isaiah Roby got some run. Aaron Wiggins got some run. So the point is the Thunder, they know they're not going anywhere. They want to get play for all these guys. When you have a 12-man rotation, it kills you for DFS. So for me, truthfully, and going forward for a while, I'll be tempted with some of these low prices, but it's going to be a similar situation as I mentioned with the Knicks. For Knicks, it's you pretty much go stud there with why can't I think of his name? Who's our Knicks stud? Everybody scream at your computer or your phone or whatever. Say Julius Randle, you dummy. But it's a similar situation for me with the Thunder. It's Shea or nothing for me on that side. So maybe Shea and Christian Wood or one of the guards. I do like this game, and I'm going to have some ownership in it. I think it's a good game to have some exposure to. All right, we go to another 8 o'clock game, and then we finish with 2 10 p.m. games. So 3 games left. We've got the Sacramento Kings at the Minnesota Timberwolves. Minnesota favored by 2. and you've got the highest total on the slate, 223.5. Seldom do you have both teams over 110 on the implied, but you do here. 110.75 Sacramento, 112.75 for the T-Wolves. This will be a popular game, and deservedly so. You've got a lot of statistics to back this up as well. Plus, you've got all the key players in. Sacramento, no injuries. Questionable Okogie and Naz Reid, 2 bench guys for Minnesota. So you got the key players. You got a big over-under. You've got a low spread between the 2 games. And then you have these stats to back it up. Sacramento's 5th in pace, Minnesota's 6th. So there you go. Huge. Sacramento, believe it or not, 8th in efficiency offensively, Minnesota 26th, but that's going to improve. Defensively, nothing to write home about here. 21st for Sacramento, 14th middle of the pack for Minnesota. Minnesota is on the first night of a back-to-back, but they do have some depth. They're young, and they need to win. So I think this game is definitely deserving of a lot of attention here. De'Aaron Fox at 8'3" is probably going to get Pat Bev D, so that scares me a bit. Plus, Fox is phenomenal, but not shooting the ball super from outside, so probably going to go elsewhere. Halliburton's coming off his best game of the year at 5'9", but, again, the Fox, Halliburton, Hield, Mitchell, when they're all playing, just it's tough for me to go to any of them because I just see that they're going to, Walton's going to go with the hot hand there, and you can totally get screwed by going there. So I'm not going to do that. Harrison Barnes at 7'2" is a fine play, a good mid-level spot. He's been steady all year. A cheap guy that a lot of people are going to race to is Metu. He's been starting and getting some minutes. Everybody's going to be looking for value and some salary-wise. So, it's a consideration. I'm not going to run to him, but I think that you can consider him. He's still get splitting minutes with Tristan Thompson and when they go small and Harkless comes in. So, a consideration. Holmes at 6'7", not a bad price. He's going to have his hands full with Cat. So, you can consider him. He is hit or miss, more GPP-ish for me in as far as that goes. On the Minnesota side, you've got some really good options in the guards to me. D'Angelo Russell at 7'3", Anthony Edwards at 8'1". I think, having one of those guys is not the worst thing in the world, that's for sure. Watched D'Angelo down the stretch that last game. He missed some wide open shots that could have won that game. So we'll see how he responds to that. I prefer Edwards, even though he's a little bit more expensive. And then Cat, of course, if you want to pay up there rather than one of the other spots, at 10-4 is not, is certainly in play. He had a decent game the last time out. Not sure I'm going to go there. I expect Holmes' defense is undersized a bit. And, probably not my top pay up, but I certainly, would say consider Towns. Because if this game is one of those crazy, 118 games, you could have a game you have to have exposure to. I will have some, but not stacking anywhere on this giant of a slate. All right, 2 late games left. Went through a whole box of Kleenex for my man Dirk back here because Luka's already out, and it's sounding like he may miss like a week or two with that ankle sprain. So that's rough because the Mavericks, of course, their next 4 games, they have 2 against the Suns and 2 against the Clippers. So, yeah, not a great time to not have Luka. This is an interesting game. You have Phoenix -8, 215.5. Dallas a 103.75. Phoenix a 111.75 implied. As far as the records here, Dallas at 9-4, Phoenix at 10-3. Phoenix has won at least, I believe, 8 in a row, 9 in a row, something stupid that's not fun to run into, but they're playing ball well. They're playing at home. They're definitely more healthy, that they have Ayton back. For Dallas, we know Doncic and Kleba are out Kaminsky is questionable for Phoenix, but we don't know as now really the third string big if he's going to get minutes. Anyway, Saric remains out. Statistically speaking, in this game, we've got Dallas, the 23rd team in pace. Phoenix is 4th. They are pushing the pace, which, Dallas will try to limit possessions, I believe, with Luka out, try to shorten the game. So that doesn't help from the DFS side. Offensive efficiency, 16th for Dallas, 9th for Phoenix. And then defensive efficiency, 17th for Dallas, 3rd for Phoenix. Phoenix favored by 8. I'm scared of this game. I'm telling you, Phoenix may hand it to them. You've got an island game for both teams, too. We will see. Let's talk a little bit about Jalen Brunson, 5'7", running the show, filling in for you, Luka. He's my number one play. I know everybody else is going to race to KP. Kristaps Porzingis at 7'4" will be one of the higher-owned players on the slate, I think. And at 7'4", it's a decent price. He's been playing well since he came back. The usage goes through the roof without Luka on the floor for Kristaps. I just still don't trust him. I mean, Jay Crowder is going to be bullying him all over the court. DeAndre Ayton, they're going to run doubles at him. They're going to make somebody else beat him other than Kristaps. They much rather would have Powell or Bullock or Brown or Finney-Smith shoot the ball. The only guy that other guy I'd consider on the Mavs is Hardaway Jr. When Luka's out, he does have a tendency to step up, but he's scoring dependent, and he's really going to be having to knock down a bunch of shots. So I do have consideration for sure for Brunson being my favorite play on that side at 5'7", Hardaway possibly at 5'3", and I'll probably try to slough the scratch chalk here in Porzingis. On the Phoenix side, does the game stay close enough that Monty doesn't use a lot of bench? That's a little bit scary. I think you can consider Paul at 8'7" and Devin Booker at 9, certainly one of the two, but not both. Mikal Bridges is always an option at 4'8" at that low price. I like Crowder a little bit at 4'5". And then, I don't know about Ayton at 6'2". I mean, you guys and gals know I always try to target the big against Dallas. And I don't know, this is only Ayton's second game back after being out for a while. I think JaVale gets some minutes behind him. I'm just not going to go there. I don't trust the minutes. I don't trust, the score is going to stay close enough. I would lay the points with Phoenix. I hate to say, sorry, Dirk. But it is what it is. I just think that you're going to get a lot of spread out of usage from these Suns guys. I would go with one of the guards first. Crowder is a value play and go from there. All right. Game 11. Here we go. Chicago Bulls, Portland Trailblazers. Portland -2, 220 over under. 109 implied for the Bulls, 111 for Portland. So that, gives some interest here for sure. We've got Chicago coming in at 10-4. Portland needs this win to get back to 500. They're 7-8. We have injury news. Caruso probable. Jeff Green which Green is that? No, that's not Jeff Green. That is Javion Green, the younger Green of all those Greens. But he is questionable anyway. I'm not going to play him either way. So just don't play Green, whatever his first name is. Vuk's out. We know Patrick Williams out for the year. And a small amount of news for Portland. We've got Dame Lillard and Norman Powell questionable. So again, it's maybe a night. Save a spot for these late 2 games. You can easily, if you want to put Lillard in there or not, if he doesn't go, then you've got Chris Paul you can go to. You can go to Booker. You can go to CJ. So good placeholder for a late night swap here. Again, stay tuned with us at DFS Coach Talk throughout the slate because these late games and swaps are going to make the big difference. And we definitely need that news because let's say Lillard and Powell don't play. I don't see how you don't play CJ McCollum. I mean, it's just automatic. So there's, all the different scenarios that can play out here are very important. All right, statistically speaking, Chicago 12th in pace, Portland 14th, solid. 7th and 4th in offensive efficiency. Both of these teams know how to score the ball with their veterans. Defensively, Chicago's 7th. That's why their record has been so good. Portland all the way down to 25th. So it does give you some interest, a little more interest in these Bulls players. DeRozan's been going just crazy. He's been phenomenal. He's 8-9. I don't know if I want to pay that price for him, but man, has he been terrific. Since Vuk went down, we didn't know where all the usage was going to go to, but it really has, a lot of it has gone to DeRozan, and some of it for sure has gone to LaVine. So I think you may need one of these two guys in this game, LaVine at 8.5 or DeRozan at 8.9. This 220 total's big, and this, we don't know who's in, who's out yet for Portland. So, I may definitely have at least one high price guy on each side here, whether it be DeRozan and McCollum or Lillard. We'll see, and then we just have to see how the news plays out. Caruso at 4.3, if he plays, could be decent. Kobe White's back at 5.7. Wouldn't touch him for quite some time. Dosunmu's getting a lot of minutes at the dead min 3K. I mean, not a lot, but enough that he's worth a look. Certainly if you're playing an after-hours slate, he might be a good value guy. But probably going to go up to one of the big price guys on Chicago. And then same thing with Portland. Again, we can't break it down until we know the news. I think McCollum could be a great play. If Powell or Lillard play, also could be terrific play. So this game is, we got to see the news, follow it through, but I think it could be a difference maker at the very end of the night. All right, my friends, we have done this. We have done it under an hour again. We're busting tail here to get you the information out early enough, get you full information so you can look at every single game here and just absolutely smash the slate. So appreciate everybody listening in. Definitely dfscoachtalk.com. If you're watching on YouTube, thumbs up, subscribe, give us a comment, hit the little bell in the upper corner to let you know when our podcast posts. If you're listening audio-wise, we have a giveaway at the end of every month for a free week of Coach Talk. All you have to do is give us a 5 stars and a quick comment. That qualifies you there. So that is it, my friends, for the entire team here at DFS Coach Talk. Really appreciate all our guys. We have a great team. For all of them, I am Joe Sarvadi, affectionately known as Coach. We'll be back again tomorrow as we look to crush it in NBA DFS.